fellow barbarians. It is I, Alan Odinson, and this is the Barbarian Lounge podcast. I want to thank you guys and gals for joining me today. Let's get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way before we jump into the content of this show. First off, our website is thebarbarianlounge.com. Go there and check out all the stuff we've got going on there. We've got a shop where you can buy some items to help support the show. Some articles are on there. If you would like to maybe submit an article that you have written, please feel free to send it to thebarbarianlounge@gmail.com. And we will check it out and see if we can get it uploaded to the site for you. We've already had a few people submit some articles that are under review right now. So that email is thebarbarianlounge@gmail.com. Also, you can go there. I urge you to check out our donate button. You'll find several options on there that you can utilize to help support the show. One of them, obviously, is a simple one-time PayPal donation for whatever amount you wish. You know, if you feel like giving me all of your lottery winnings, that's fine. You can do that as well. If you just want to maybe give me enough to buy a cup of coffee that I can get some caffeine in my blood before I start this show, feel free to do that. Every little bit helps. It helps keep the show running. I just recently renewed the website, thebarbarianlounge.com. Updated all of the protection on there and all that good stuff. So we're good to go for a while. And let me just tell you, that stuff is not cheap, and your donations are much needed and much appreciated. Another way you can help support the show is, which is actually a recommended way, is by becoming a member. So under that donate tab, you can find a link to our Patreon. You can go there, become a member on Patreon, and you will receive several benefits from that. One of those being you will get all of our shows early. Sometimes it's a few days, sometimes it's a few weeks ahead of time, depending on when I get the content out. Because I've said this many times. I said this to my members all the time. If you're a member and you're willing to put a little bit of skin in the game, if you're willing to actually get out there and support the show, you guys come first. Plain and simple. And my whole goal is to, if these guys are willing to support me, or guys and gals, actually, we got several female barbarians out there that are members. But if they're willing to support me, they're going to get my undivided attention. If they have a show suggestion, bam, it gets done. If they have a suggestion about the content, bam, it gets done. That's just kind of the way it goes. So if you become a member, basically how it works is you make a per show donation, whatever amount it may be. It can't be no less than $1 per show. So by doing that, not only will you get the shows early, you'll get our 4 regular shows early, but you also gain access to our members' content. So you get 4 shows, regular shows a month, plus 4 additional members-only shows that can only be found on our Patreon site. I think I've got about 35 or so of those uploaded already. So, combined with the shows that I've got, regular shows I've got, we've almost got 100 shows total. So, those member shows are climbing pretty good. And I get into a lot of stuff that I like it to be educational. Sometimes I'll share some personal thoughts on some different things that I don't really want on the open airwaves. So, needless to say, I can say what I want to the members because those people have proven their worth. So please, go out, become a member, go to patreon.com/thebarbarianlounge and become a member of our team here. Next thing, you can catch us, a lot of people listen to us on iTunes and everything. If we have any issues with iTunes, please let me know. I know sometimes the feeds get kind of weird, but you can find the Barbarian Lounge podcast on iTunes as well as Stitcher. You can also catch us on Tuesday nights, ucy.tv. Check us out there. There's a live chat that goes on during the show, and you can talk to people as the show is airing about the content. Get some different ideas and everything like that. Check out ucy.tv. They got a lot of good content out there. Another thing, I urge you to support our sponsors, OdinsonArchery.com. Traditional bows made from non-traditional materials. Got a lot of stuff on there, man. Now's an excellent time to start ordering some stuff. A lot of people like to get some early Christmas shopping in, and I always recommend that. I can tell you towards the end of the year, man, we got some crazy stuff coming out from Odinson Archery. So, it's usually a busy time of the year. So if you want to get those Christmas orders ahead of time, get ahead of the schedule, now's a great time to do it. So, we're kind of entering that slow part of a slow couple of months before the rush for Christmas time. So now's the time to do it. And every single purchase you make there also helps support the show. Our other sponsor, Mitacon, MitAconUSA.com. Here comes my commercial voice. Mitacon, with a proper diet, supports the cell's fastest, most effective absorption of natural nutrients in each 250 milliliter bottle and sustains the body's mitochondria generation of usable energy, key to producing ATP, the energy-rich fuel the body needs to achieve peak athletic strength, performance, endurance, and recovery. MitAconUSA.com. Tell them Alan Odinson sent you. Talk to my boy Ben. He will hook you up. Alrighty. So I zoomed through that, guys. Usually it takes a little while, but I wanted to hit that shit hard today. So as always, I got my Mitacon in my trusty cup here. Be sipping on it throughout the show. I tell you, Mitacon's one of those, excuse me, one of those things that can really, really help out throughout my workouts and everything. It's like I've told you guys, I've been on a steady turn to kind of, I wouldn't say I was unhealthy. I'm always been in good shape, but it's one of those things where when you get caught up in the world of powerlifting, which powerlifting is so addictive. But the problem with powerlifting is when you really get into it, it kind of becomes all you can do. If you really want good results, the more recovery you can gain, the better. And that's not very conducive to somebody who leads a life based on combatives. I'm teaching martial arts several times a week. I'm out there on the mats. I'm not standing there, sitting in a chair watching everybody else work. I'm out there working. I'm holding pads. I'm sparring. I'm rolling. All that stuff. So needless to say, there comes a point where diminishing returns make their magical appearance in your performance. And luckily, the Mitacon helps me to get a lot of recuperation and everything in between all of the lifting and stuff I do, combined with the martial arts. I've had to kind of scale back my heavy lifting a little bit just so I can have the recovery to do what needs to be done. There's kind of one of those things when I wasn't really teaching martial arts, I didn't really have to have a certain level of performance each time I go in there, but I'm not getting any younger, and I turn, Jesus Christ, I think I'm going to be 38 in a couple of weeks. So you come to these points where you start realizing that, okay, what is actually going to be functional in the type of work that I'm doing now? And while being strong is great, it really is, there's a lot of different types of strength. Strength comes in a variety of different forms. Many times, especially in a combative sense, being big and strong, it's good for a certain moment, but, let's be honest, when you start learning how to tie up limbs, throw proper punches, and strangle people, there's a certain point where you realize what's going to be more important to you. Is it more important for me to be able to bench press 500 pounds, or is it more important for me to be able to constantly train the ability to strangle another individual? Which is going to be more functional for me? In most instances, I feel more comfortable knowing that I can strangle somebody and have the gas to really pull it off. And there's a certain level of cardiovascular sense that goes into that. The way that I train, the way I teach my students, the way I do my actual fighting and sparring, I would say, and one of my students described me the other day, that my striking style looks like a mix between Dominic Cruz and Mike Tyson. So it's somewhere in between there. I tend to kind of move around in those different ranges a lot. When I get in tight, I'm very Tyson-esque, and sometimes I'll move like that, and sometimes it's fancy footwork. I'm a 250-pound Dominic Cruz a lot of times, and I work with my students that way. Although, actually, my weight is down. I was kind of surprised today. I checked my weight today. I'm down to 245, so that's good. I'm working it down. My goal by the time my birthday gets, and this might seem kind of crazy to a lot of people, I'd like to be around 235 by the time my birthday gets here. So we'll see how that plays out. And I don't want to knock it off too quick, but it's just kind of my goal every year that my birthday rolls around. I say, I want to be healthier this go around than I was last go around, right? You know, if we take that mentality, we're always in a constant state of improvement. It's very easy to get stagnant in what we do. But, you know, it's one of those things that I urge a lot of people, you know, if you're listening to this show, you know, I've talked about it, especially the members have heard me talk about this. We need to take care of our bodies. We need to be healthy. We need to put the proper fuel in us. Man, I will tell you, I've always been kind of a soda head, right? I love soda. I love it, but it's one of the things that I've had to wean myself off of, because soda is one of the worst things you can drink. You know, I've always kind of grown up. I was a fat kid growing up, and I've always had to fight my weight. Even as big as I am, I'm still one of the smaller people in my family. You know, we come from very, very big stock. So it's always been kind of a constant fight between, you know, my health and everything. We've had a lot of health issues in my family. So it's one of those things that I recognize ahead of time. And it's important to take active steps to nullify all these things. I know they'll tell you, oh, no matter if you exercise, no matter if you do this, your genetics are going to catch up with you. I call bullshit on that, because I know plenty of people that come from bad genetics that's taking care of themselves, and they are in glorious condition. So, you know, don't give your power away to your genetics. You need to fight, scratch, and claw your way to a healthier life. And there's a lot of methods we can use to get there. You know, they want you to believe. They want you to believe that you have no power. That's the goal in everything out there, is what power do you have? Well, you don't have any power. You're a slave to this. You're a slave to your genetics. You're a slave to your social status. You're a slave to this. You're a slave to that. I call bullshit. You know, in every single aspect, they want to push this victim mentality. And I'm not down with that. You know, if we're going to talk about strength and we're going to talk about being strong, you know, these are the things that we can start controlling right now. There's a lot of things you can't control in your life. Your health is absolutely one of those things. If you think you can't control it, you've given up already, and you have fallen victim to that whole mentality of the eternal victimhood. Oh my God, I just can't do anything about it. Bullshit. You know, I just can't lose any weight. Bullshit. You know, everybody's got their little fad diets and all this shit. Man, let me tell you, the calories, if you burn more calories than you put in your body, I don't care if you're low carbonate, fruit and veg, whatever the hell you're doing, you're going to lose weight. It's just going to happen. That's the way the body works. So are there better ways? Yeah. But, you know, it's something you need to start taking control of. And that comes from many things. I mean, guys, we're talking about, if you're talking about from a preparedness standpoint, right? And prepping, that's one of the first things I tell guys. What should I do for prepping? And these people asking me this, and they're like close to the 300-pound mark. Like, first thing you need to do is get control of your life. Get control of your diet. Start exercising. I mean, you know, it's like, I remember one of the episodes of Doomsday Preppers back in the day, there was this guy, you know, big fat dude. I think he had some issues where they were trying to take this guy's guns or something after the show. This big fat dude rolling around on a scooter, you know, with a gun, right? And a flak jacket, a gun, and like a helmet. And he's like, I'm prepared to defend my property. And I'm like, motherfucker, you're gonna die of heart disease before you have the chance to prepare for anything. I mean, if you're rolling around on a scooter, you've lost the fight. If you're stuck on a medication lifestyle where you have to have this to manage your weight, and you have to have this for heart disease, and this for cholesterol, and all this stuff, you've lost the fight. You forget about stocking food. You need less food. But a lot of people, man, they just want to make excuses. And you guys have heard me talk about excuses, right? I have a saying when it comes to excuses. Your excuses are similar to a fortune cookie, right? They're fragile. They're typically hollow. They leave a bad taste in your mouth. They're full of lies. Plain and simple. So that's what I think of your excuses. Your excuses are like fortune cookies. So don't bring them around here. I'm not in the mood to hear them, and they will fall on deaf ears. Here on this show, the people that I associate with in my life, the circle I surround myself with, the students I train for the next generation that will pick up my shield when I fall, those people, their lives are all about accountability. They account for every single thing they do. And we have to start doing it. This is how you lead by example. You know, it's one of the things that gets me about all these groups that think they're superior to others and stuff like that. And it's like, most of the people that claim supremacy are not very supreme at all. They barely have control of their own lives, much less thinking they're going to control some sort of government, right? I mean, it's that time. It's that time. It's been that time for a long time now. We have to avoid being the victim of complacency. Complacency will sneak in sometimes and tell you everything's all right. Just rest. There's no reason to worry about that. Who cares? Who cares? It tastes good. It's amazing how quickly people are willing to end their lives and put themselves in a state of sickness and disease. It's amazing how many people are willing to sell that for a little bit of pleasure from food, right? I love, and don't get me wrong, if I have the choice of eating a burger and a salad, I want to eat that burger, right? But that's where the whole discipline thing sets in. Discipline is so important, man. I have found in the past when I'm saying, oh man, I can't lose weight, I can't do this, most of the time when I sit back and I recognize what's happening, it all comes down to discipline. Having the discipline to do what needs to be done. Even when you don't want to do it. That's the thing. Even when you don't want to do it. Let me tell you something. There's times I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like doing shit. I don't feel like doing anything. I'm like, man, I just want to sit around and maybe watch some TV, play some video games, whatever. Go for a walk with the dog, go hang around town with the wife. That's what I want to do. But there goes the lack of accountability. No discipline. No discipline in your life. Everything that, if you truly want something worth having, it's going to require discipline to get it. It's the same with take it from a business standpoint, right? A business standpoint. I run several things. I have, 4 different businesses that I run. Some have more priority than others. But for the most part, 4 different businesses that I run. And inside those 4 different businesses, there's different aspects that even branch off from that. And let me tell you something. It's a one-man show most of the time. I burn the candle at both ends and the wax is melting in the middle. That's how I roll. But it all came from this mentality of taking control of my life. Real simple. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not easy. People think, when I tell them a lot of times that I work from home, they're like, oh, you don't even have to get dressed. You fucking bum. Yes, you do. You wake up and you get dressed for work, even if you don't have to leave the house, because there's work to be done. If you wake up and stay in your pajamas, that's exactly how you're going to treat the rest of the day. So a lot of times, I get up, I'm like, man, I don't want to do anything. I just want to relax. And sometimes it takes me a little while to get moving. But the later that it takes me to get moving, you know what that means? I'm going to make up for it. I'm going to pay that toll later in the day, because my ass is going to have to stay up. Those 2 hours I decided to relax and sit and watch TV for the morning, maybe I got the news on, maybe I'm messing around on the internet, doing some stuff like that. The longer it takes me to get going, guess what? That's the later I got to stay up, and that's the less sleep I'm going to get, because that's how I've set up my life. That every single thing I've ever failed at, and you could probably look across your life and the things that you've attempted and failed at, how many of those things were based off of a lack of discipline? I was having a discussion with my martial arts class today, discussing with my students. I was telling them about my very first grappling tournament I was in. Now, when I was training, I come from a wrestling background. When I first started grappling, I came from a wrestling background. So top position, and I still believe top position rules. But for me, I didn't really work a lot of stuff from the ground, from my back. I'd work a bridge, and usually that bridge would work for me. But, I got in my first grappling tournament, playing civil, man, boom. We start off, I double-leg the dude, I take him down. I pass his guard. If you don't understand this grappling terminology, you need to start taking a grappling class. I pass his guard, get in side control, get a head and arm position, which is basically a headlock type head. I got a headlock and an arm, so head and arm, Keisagatami. If you're from the judo or the Japanese jiu-jitsu world. Get that position, I start working, and I got that crank going. I am cranking the neck, I am digging in, and the dude is struggling to get loose. Well, I went for an arm, even though I had it, and the guy told me afterwards, you know, if you'd have kept cranking that, I was about to tap. I listened to my corner, which I shouldn't have, and he said, take the arm, and I reached for the arm to try and tie the arm up on my legs, and the guy slipped out. I escaped, got on my back position, went for an arm bar, and I wasn't very good at those. The guy passed, and he ended up in mount. Long story short, he ended up in mount. So he gets in mount, and this guy's like, I'm not letting this kid go. I'm going to hold on to him here. So this guy gets the mount position, and he's just basically a gigantic 200 and something pound blanket, and he is on me, right? And I'm doing what I always do. I bridge. Nope, nothing happening. This guy is not moving at all. And he rides that position. I can't go nowhere. I can't get loose. And what happened? Match is over. He wins, right? He wins technical decision. He controlled position, yada, yada, yada. They didn't have really points at that time. I'm an old school grappler. So it was just kind of like, well, this guy, like, he controlled the fight, so he won. So this guy ends up getting the win. My initial response is, you know, damn it, this guy didn't do anything. He was just blanketing me, right? He wasn't trying nothing. He was just here. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of defeats the purpose. But at the same time, it's not my job. It's not his job to really have to do anything. If you can win using the easiest possible thing, well, why wouldn't you not do that, right? I mean, why would you not do that? Instead, you know, it come to my attention that I needed to take responsibility and have the discipline to start working from my back. Nobody wants to work from an inferior position. Who wants to work from an inferior position? But I did. I spent the whole time in between class. My instructor told me, he said, when we grapple, every time we wrestle and we start rolling, you double legs, single legs, head snap the guy, headlock, take him down, you end up in top position. He said, as soon as we start, I want you on the bottom. I want you in the mount every single time. Slowly but surely, I had to start working, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to start from an inferior position. I got tapped, I got smothered, I got exhausted, but I didn't want to do that. But I understood at the same time that I had to have the discipline of mind to be able to work myself into these bad positions and get out of there. Because the next tournament rolled around, and I went up against a better wrestler than me, and guess what? Match starts, boom, double leg slams me, gets mount position right off the bat. What did I do? I escaped, got to a position on my back that I worked continuously, and boom, choked him out pretty soon after that. So it's one of those things that if you're willing to have the discipline to put yourself through some shit, you'll be amazed at what can come out on the other side. It's the same thing with, like I talked about from a business standpoint. You know, when I get set to do some work, right? There's certain protocols that I have to fit into before I'm willing to say today is done with. I always write a list out. Everything on that list has to be done before the workday is finished. If it's done at 3 in the afternoon, congratulations, you got the rest of the day off. If it's not done till 3 in the evening, well, get some sleep. It's time to get up again at 8 a.m. So you better go to sleep fast. These are the types of things that we have to be willing to put ourselves through this. Too many people lack discipline because there's an easy way out. If you listen to my episode on the quitter, quitting's the easiest option you can possibly take. It's absolutely the easiest thing you can possibly do. It's the most readily available option. Right now, I could go, you know what, fuck this. And walk right out of here, right? I could walk right out of here and be done with it. Fuck it, I'm done. I don't feel like doing this. I'm tired, whatever. It's the easiest option. Too many people, I think that one of the reasons, which I discussed on that show, one of the reasons this world is in the situation it's in right now, the reason we have SJWs, the reason we have people who are begging for the government to take care of them, is because they've quit. They've quit on life, they've quit on having accountability for themselves, and they've taken the easy road. And for the most part, We've allowed it. We've allowed them to make that move of quitting. We've allowed them to just say, you know what, it's okay. I understand. When in reality, we should be mocking these people. We should be telling them that they're a waste of space and air. We should be. That's the way it goes. You don't glorify people who are so easily willing to give up, who are so easily willing to quit on life, who so easily will lack discipline to do what needs to be done to make their lives better. You know, from a business standpoint, from running a business, I will tell you, I've described business running to people. I've described it as one of the most rewarding and terrifying things you'll ever do. Because at the end of the day, there's no weekends, there's no paycheck, I said there's no paycheck. I mean, there's no guaranteed paycheck. None of these things are guaranteed. Even if you're running a martial arts type school, every student could quit on you, right? I mean, they could slowly start dropping if you get complacent. If you don't have the discipline to make your school the best school around, if you don't have the discipline to learn what's new in the game, I can tell you from a martial arts standpoint, running my school, I've been a little bit out of the loop. All of this crazy wonky shit that guys are doing now. I mean, I'm an old school guy, admittedly. I don't do, even though I don't do rubber guards and donkey guards and, invisible collars and all this other crazy shit that people are doing. I'm a boxer. I'm a kicker, clinch guy. I'm old school, man. I'm the double leg, nice slow pass of the guard, side control, knee on belly mount kind of dude. I'm not working all this fancy crap. I'm not working go-go platas and all this junk like that. My position is get up or break the arm or strangle him from there. It's not all this fancy shit. So, but at the same time, I understand that this is the world that I'm sending my students out into. So as an instructor, I have to be willing every day as part of my routine to keep up to date to this new stuff that's coming out. Because while I don't teach it, that doesn't mean they're not going to encounter it. And I don't want them to be shocked by something they've never seen before. When I competed not long ago, I say it wasn't long ago, it was several years ago actually. It was long ago. But, when I competed, the two moves that I used to win my division were two moves that jiu-jitsu guys don't typically practice. And it wasn't because they were something fancy. It's just like these guys had never really encountered these particular moves before. One of them was a shin lock, and the other was just a head scissor that's straight out of an old catch wrestling manual by Ed Strangler Lewis. That video is actually online somewhere. But I have to learn these things. I have to be willing to sit down, focus, understand the technique, and be willing to show this to my students. But with running my business as it is, when I started running my archery business, I mean, I can't tell you how many people looked at me and said, "Dude, you can't make a living doing archery. You can't make a living doing that. Are you kidding me? You know how many people are trying to do that and have failed?" And I said, "That's great. I'm glad that they failed, because that opens the door for me to step in and do what needs to be done." If you say, "Oh, you can't make a living at archery," I look at you and I say, "You're right. You can't. I'm going to." Because see, I don't have a choice. This is the life raft. If I'm not willing to do it, if I'm not willing to get out there and do the work and work harder than everyone else, yeah, you're right, I'm going to fail. Most people sit around and wait for things to come to them. That's not the way I do things. I understand that I'm at a deficit. I understand that, all of this is being done by me. I'm the one out there doing the promoting. I'm the boots on the ground guy. I'm the boots on the ground walking around, talking to people, meeting with people. And I'm the guy that has to get out there and put my stuff on the line. Put my reputation, everything about me on the line. In front of some of the, like at Blade Show, some of the greatest craftsmen in the world. We're not talking United States. We're talking the world. There were people from Japan and South Africa who bought my products. People that know their shit. Jason Knight from Forged in Fire. The video online with me and him talking, where he was, utterly impressed with my gear. I had to be willing to do that. There's a lot of people that just can't. I've talked to some of my friends who've got business ideas, and I'm standing there and I'm going, brother, do it. Do it. And they're like, man, I just don't know. And I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. That was me. I'm telling you, you need to get out there on the field. We have to have the discipline in our lives to be willing to put ourselves out there, put ourselves splayed for the entire world to see. You have to be willing to do that. You'll never find any success in anything. In anything. That's one of the biggest things I've had to learn from internet marketing. I am by no means no businessman. I am 100% learning on the fly. This is a learning experience. I'm no salesman either. I got good at, how I got good at sales? I'm good with talking to people, but I'm never, from a sales standpoint, I don't know the ins and outs of that. I listened to a sales book. You probably heard me, if you've listened to some of the shows, you heard me talk about this. I listened to a sales book from Grant Cardone, 10X. I listened to that on the Way to Blade show to learn how to properly do face-to-face sales and really get the motivation to do what I had to do that weekend. That's the extent of my sales learning. An audio book where I'm memorizing shit and I'm trying to understand what needs to be done, what to say, what not to say, how to work those sales. And, that's one of those things where, if you're going to be a businessman, it's like, oh man, I don't want to read a book on sales. It's so boring. You're right. It is. But we got to have the discipline to be able to do that. Do you want to succeed? Success and failure. Those are your two options, both of which you have control over. Nobody else has control over that. Oh, well, people aren't buying. No, you're not selling. Coffee's for closers, man. Coffee is for closers. At the end of the day, I want to be the guy that's drinking the entire pot. You got to be willing to do the work. The same comes when I'm talking about taking care of your health. Man, it's no different. You got to be willing to make some sacrifices. If you need help along the way, post little quotes here and there. I changed the home screen on my phone to a quote about discipline to keep me in line. It's so easy to live a life undisciplined. It's so easy to want to have that good tasting food all the time. It's like, oh man, I got a sweet tooth. A lot of times that's just that ego talking. That's that nasty, evil gut bacteria that you got in there that's saying, give me something sweet. And you just give into it and you say, oh man, I don't know. I really need to be good. It says, give me something sweet. You're like, man, come on. Give me one Debbie cake. That's all I want. One Debbie cake. It's like, oh man, I can't have anything. All right, I'll give you that one. Just one Debbie cake's not going to hurt. And it says, yes, one Debbie cake won't work. Give me two Debbie cakes. And that's pretty much how it goes, right? I mean, we know that's the story of my life. The Fat Kid Chronicles, right? I could write a whole story about the Fat Kid Chronicles. My inner fat boy talks to me all the time, and it's like, give me some cake. And I'm like, no, fat boy, you can't have it. All right, give me some soda. And I'm like, well, soda sounds pretty good. Yes, give me a whole soda. I'm like, oh, no. Okay, shut up. Now, shut up. You be good. I'm going to drink some water. No, I want soda. No, we got to drink water. And eventually, when you start stifling that voice, it gets more and more quiet. It doesn't yell quite as loud, right? It's very, very easy. It's very easy to listen to that voice. Just as easy as it is to quit, it's very easy to listen to that voice. But before you know it, that lack of discipline becomes the steering factor. It's the steering thing that drives you towards a life of sickness, a life of a less quality of life. I can't tell you how many people I see that it's kind of like this. For our children, if you don't have kids, for your future children or anybody that you teach, anybody that you find yourself as a representative of what you want to be, right? Whatever you want to be in life, you should be living that example throughout your days. You're like, I want to be this. At least you need to be making the journey there. Maybe you're not there yet, but you're making the journey. And that's fine because you're at least moving somewhere. But a lot of times I see kids out with their parents. And I see a kid with his father. And his father's walking around, and his father is, 250 pounds of blubber. And, he barely can walk. He gets tired climbing a flight of stairs. He's basically like a self-propelled stomach, right? His stomach is leading the way. And you got this kid walking with them, and I think to myself, in the eyes of this kid, or in the eyes of your kid, or anyone who looks up to you, you should be looked at almost like a god. You should be like a superhero. My dad can do anything. My dad can do anything. Even whether it's true or not, right? It doesn't matter if it's true as long as they believe it, right? Because that inspires them to believe in the same manner that they can do anything as well. But when I see this kid, I think to myself, when this kid gets out and plays ball with his father, if his father even gets outside, what sort of impression does this child start to have about his dad? What sort of impression does he have when his dad can barely run to catch a football or can't hardly bend down without going, ugh, to pick something up, right? Take that and compare it to a child that sees his father running, lifting weights, practicing martial arts, doing all of the manly skills, right? He's a shooter, he's a fighter, stays in shape. He can run, he can outrun his kids, he can hang with most young people all day long. What sort of impression does that leave on the next generation? And I can tell you right now, a lasting one. A lasting one. Now, granted, the essence of masculinity is not based off of how you look and what shape you're in. There's a lot of things that go with that. But you have to understand, we are leaving behind a generation that is being corralled and led. Eventually, I see this happening if things don't change. There's going to be led by these SJWs. They're going to be led by people who need safe spaces and reject the fact that their chromosomes either say male or female. That's the world we're heading to. If we do not leave people here with a strong enough mindset, a strong enough body, an understanding of what it means to be a powerful member of society, we are absolutely destroying the world ahead of time. And all of this begins with discipline. Just think, if that same father I was describing, the self-propelled stomach type, that same guy, if he would say, you know what, son, I owe you more than this. I owe you more than what I'm giving you here. Daddy's out of shape. Daddy can't run. Daddy can't even lift his body weight. He can barely squat, can't hardly bend over. Neglected my shooting. I don't know how to throw a punch. If somebody takes me down, I'm going to die. Imagine if that same guy would recognize all that, tell his son that, and say, let's grow together. Daddy's going to set an example for you. Daddy's going to show you what it's like to be a strong man, in this rising tide of pussydom. Right now, weakness is glorified more than anything in the world. They're attacking on so many fronts. They're telling you to be weak. All this stuff comes from a lack of discipline that people aren't willing to recognize. This weak society, this glorification of weakness. All of it stems from a lack of discipline. Our lack of discipline and a willingness to train our children up correctly is what's leading us to where we're at now. These SJWs didn't just fucking sprout out the ground. No, these are years and years of weakness. Oh, it's okay. Here's your participation trophy. Take your participation trophy. Everybody gets one. Go over there and sit in your safe space. That's led to this world where these people, they identify, their whole identity is that of someone who's weak. That when you are willing to stand up and attack that, it's almost like you're not even just attacking their ideals, you're attacking their identity. And if you don't think these little weaklings are willing to fight for that, oh, trust me, they will. It will escalate. I've been telling you forever that it's going to escalate, and we're seeing escalation methods of this now. They're going to learn that even though they understand their weakness, they are going to learn from the wrong people how to become a pseudo form of true masculinity. Classic example. I'll be posting this article up. I've been really slack about getting it up. I'm going to have it on the BarbarianLounge.com website under our articles. But I'm going to upload an article from a good friend of mine, Brandon Turbeville from the Activist Post, who he was giving me information which I've been reporting for months now. I left the source kind of quiet until he put it out. But, he posted this thing where you have SJW Antifa groups now officially over there training with the Syrian People's Protection Force over there, which are the rebels. They're training with these people. What are they learning? They're learning how to come here and kill you. So we're gonna have to be ready for this rising tide. This tide will keep rising, and as I've said for a long time, the whole goal of this system is not to get me or you. If anything, it's to make us shut up and conform, but ideally they want the next generation and the generation after that. It's a totalitarian tiptoe. It is in full force, and it's going to take people willing to stand up and call it for what it is. But all of these things can start to be countered right now. I know plenty of kids who already exemplify these things that I've been talking about, this discipline, this accountability in their life. I know plenty of kids who don't even know shit about politics, but they're not. They drift away naturally from this SJW snowflake culture. Naturally, they don't know anything about it. You could show them these things and they'll laugh at it. They mock it because it's silly to them. Like that's everything that's against masculinity. They don't have to know. They don't have to know anything about their politics. They don't have to listen to their speeches. They have to read their books. They don't have to read their articles, go to their websites, watch their YouTube videos, any of that stuff. They don't have to. They can see it for what it is. As I've said, the societal weakness that we have right now, we, all of us, every one of you who's listening to this show right now, we have the vaccination for it. We can start immunizing the next generation now, but it has to begin with us. It has to. And the only way that's going to happen is if you start exercising some discipline in your life. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not a week from now. None of that. Do not come to me and tell me about how I need to do something about this. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to do something about it. That's what I want to hear. Don't bring that weak shit to me. I am not in the mood for it. I'm not going to listen to it. It will fall on deaf ears. Come tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what you're going to do right now. Show me. Show me what you're going to do. Send me a picture, a video. Look what I decide. Listen to your show, Odinson, and I thought about it, and I'm going to start setting a better example for the next generation that's coming up. This cultural war is not going to be fought with your speeches and your rallies. I am sorry to tell you. The war against humanity, the war for the SJW Great War that is fighting right now, it's not going to be won by memes. It's not going to be won by snarkiness. It's not going to be won by rallies and protests and all this shit like that. It is going to be won through a cultural change. It is going to be won through accepting and embracing that which made us great once. It's not about actually, creating something new. It's about recognizing that which got us here to start with. Embracing that which is strong about us as a people. Too many people get focused on the weakness, man. I hear so much weak shit all the time. And as I've said this numerous times, and I'll say it again. I am not the guy that's sitting cross-legged on a mountain preaching down to you, saying Hare Krishna or any of that other bullshit, telling you about how I'm a great person and you guys should be more like me, blah, blah. This was me. Everything I say on this show, the things I talk about, the mistakes that people are making, that is me. I have done this. I catch myself doing it now. I'm not perfect. But you have to recognize these things. And the easiest way to do this is to start gaining some discipline in your life. Don't get this mentality of this, I can't stand the whole, I reject everything mentality. I am very much against this, I'm just going to create my own world inside this world and basically play pretend that nothing around me matters but me. That's not the way the world works. I wish it did. You don't want to get too caught up and drawn into the outside world. There's a happy medium in there, but we have to pay attention to what's going on around us. It's like, oh, well, I don't care. Well, you will, and by the time you do care, guess what? It's probably going to be too late. Because if you say, fuck everything, I'm just going to live my life, and what happens, happens, by the time it gets to the point where you go, well, God, this is messed up. This isn't good. This isn't good for me at all. By the time that happens, it's already gotten way out of control. You couldn't do anything about it anyway. The easiest way to start making changes is recognize and then start immunizing the next generation around you. Don't stand for weakness. I'll give you another example here of a lack of discipline and just a general bred through a weakness in our society. A friend of mine was recently at he was doing some work at a venue as a school. He was there, and there was an active shooter report that happened. And the people weren't in the school. It was some kids out in a parking lot that were, I think they were out in a field like several blocks away shooting. He was in there. He looks out the window. He sees this. They're not pointing it at the school or nothing. They're just out there shooting. Well, the vice principal or principal, some higher up there, either number 1 or number 2, completely and utterly has a freak out panic attack. And he's running around screaming, ah, ah, freaking out. And the kids are starting to cry that are in there. They're scared. He's going absolutely apeshit. My buddy said, it probably would have been better off if I'd have punched him in the face to calm him down. I agree with him. But, we were talking and he was saying, this guy was actually causing more harm than, these kids 2 blocks away shooting in a field. It wasn't in the school, wasn't even on school property. It was just the guy reported it as an active shooter and he started freaking out. This is a fine example of someone who has no discipline over their emotions. He obviously has no relationship with violence because he would have understood the steps he probably should take if he hears a shot, right? I'll tell you this, freaking out is not the number 1 move, okay? That should not be the go-to move whenever you hear a gunshot. My friend did exactly what he should have done. He identified where the threat was and took proper precautions from there. So, this guy, he has zero discipline over his emotions. And what that does is that creates nothing but a hindrance. When you have an emotional wreck, someone who has not taken the time to exercise discipline over their emotions, they cause more trouble than you can possibly imagine. It's like the guy that's drowning that starts to drown you as well when you're trying to save them because they are so freaked out. They're freaking out. They're in complete panic mode. They're not helping anybody. And sometimes slapping them across the face is the go-to move. You got to snap them into reality because it brings them back, right? They're like, oh, they're freaking out, and you just give them one of those Sean Connerys right across the jaw, and they go, and it's like, yeah, you're back now. All right, get in the fucking room and lock the door, right? I mean, it's simple stuff like that. It's like I was telling my kids today when we had class today, and I put them through a hard workout. I had them sparring at the end of class. And I told them, I said, discipline over your emotions is vital. Because I saw them doing a couple rounds and I could see the emotions starting to well up. The technique starts to fall apart and it just ends up looking like a ridiculous tough man fight. And I break them and I say, sit down, let's talk. So I sit them down, we start talking. I say, look, you are allowing your emotions to take over. You got punched a couple times and you got angry, you got mad. I said, what good is that going to do you? Being angry or mad, those 2 things, will that stop that fist from touching your face? No, it won't. No, it won't. It's just going to build up more anger, and you're going to be less in control, and your partner, who's doing what he needs to do, will start lighting you up even more. You are showing that emotional leakage, and it's dripping all over the floor. Okay? So many people fall victim to this. And, that's one of the things as a coach that I always look out for my students. I want to see the looks on their face. I want them to look like they just woke up from a nap when they're fighting. I don't want to see this whole emotional aspect where they're just, they're so angry when they're fighting and they're clubbing and throwing, chopping shots like they're chopping wood. I don't want to see that. I want to see them get hit and not even respond at all. Because like I told them, I said, think about it. If you hit a guy and he grimaces and gets angry and comes after you, what does that tell you? That tells you he felt it and he didn't like it. If you hit him and he smiles, what does that tell you? That he likes it? No. It tells you that you hurt him. It tells you that he doesn't like getting hit. Please don't do that again. I'm trying to show you that it didn't hurt. But in actuality, it probably did. But you hit a guy and he just stares at you blank. What happened? Did it hurt? Did it not hurt? Did he feel it? Is he rattled? What? You don't know. Because the guy ate the punch and kept coming. That's the whole idea of keeping our emotions in check. And this isn't just about sparring and boxing, MMA and stuff like that. This happens even just as I just described in a real world setting. Having discipline over yourself. Knowing when you're starting to feel those emotions welling up inside of you that you don't let them control you. If I see somebody that I can get emotional, I will enter, especially when I'm boxing, I will enter what I call antagonize mode. Because this can be accomplished in many different ways. I can make them miss. My favorite is to, because I've got a pretty good jab and good footwork, if I know I'm faster than them and I pop them with a jab a couple times, and I can see them starting to get frustrated, yep, I will keep popping them with the jab, and it will get them so pissed off that they will charge me. I will shuffle step cross and put them on their ass. Almost every time. It's just one of those things that you start to recognize with people. So, we need to start maintaining this level of control over ourselves. Because all of these aspects of discipline, whether it's your diet, whether it's fighting, whether it's driving your car, not getting too emotionally invested because somebody cut you off and you do something stupid, right? You speed around and do all this shit like that. You're not accomplishing anything. You're letting, whenever you don't have the discipline to control your emotions, that means someone else is controlling them for you. And that is what? Giving your power away. Look at these SJWs. They are guided by their emotions. What does that tell me about the enemy? That tells me they're easily controlled. I've always said a lot of times, as riled up as these people get, if the right wing really wanted to fuck them up, what should they do? What should they do? They should say something like, we are going to have a big giant white supremacist rally at this location. Every single build up this whole idea. There's going to be burning crosses. We're going to have hanging effigies. It's going to be just the most white supremacist, racist thing you'll ever see in your life. We're going to have guys dressed up as Hitler, everything. It's going to be off the fucking chain of offensive. What is that going to do, right? That's going to drown every pissed off Antifa puke that ever lived. They're going to show up to that location. And go ahead and set your stages up and all that stuff like that. Make it look good, right? So, let's say the leftists show up there and they're all mad and they're ready to fight. But, nobody shows up to the rally. That's weird. Oh, wait a minute. What's that group of people coming out of that alley? Oh, wait a minute. What's that group of people? Now, all of the right-wing people show up and now create a perimeter around the Antifa, blocking them in. I mean, what these people are going to do. They're going to react emotionally. They're going to charge head in. They're not going to look at the layout. They're not really even going to be paying attention. And bam, voila, you set up a nice little ambush. Now, I will say real quick, that little piece of information there was for entertainment purposes only. The Barbarian Lounge does not condone attacking and ambushing Antifa members. Should you choose to do that, you may not hold the Barbarian Lounge or Alan Odinson or anyone associated with this or our sponsors liable for the ass kicking that you receive. Yeah. So, and I've probably caused enough trouble today, so I'm going to make this a last call. Last call, guys. Take a drink. Take a drink with me. So the gist of this show, plain and simple, is if we want to truly change the future for the next generation, if we truly want to start making a change for a better world, harnessing a culture of strength, not a culture of whining and complaining and all this other shit, we need to start exercising discipline over our lives to set the example for the next generation, to set the example for our children, set the example for our students. All of these things we're starting to see fail around us. You need to live your life and set yourself up with the image. I don't give a shit whether it's real or not. You need to at least have the perception of such for those around you, because it inspires people to take on that role themselves. You need to almost set yourself up as if you're a superhero. Live your life like you are out there doing the work, right? When they talk about this guy, they're like, man, this guy's got some of the most insane discipline I've ever seen in my life. He's in control of himself. He doesn't let himself get rattled. He pays attention to his diet. He's in the gym working out. And when he's not doing that, he's running his business. You know, all these things like that, man. This sets an example. It sets a work ethic that the next generation is in desperate need of. Because right now, there are plenty, if you're not willing to do this, there are plenty of people out there telling them to take the easy route. And that just adds to the ranks, adds to the army of ridiculousness that is rising up. Those people, remember, all those people you see out there that are protesting, all those people you see out there that are calling for more control, those people that are calling to take your guns away, that are calling for governments to have more power, all those people that are saying that you need to pay for them to live their lives comfortably, that you need to pay for them to have health insurance, you need to take care of them, all of those people were failed. And that's the future of the next generation if you're not willing to start setting the example and exercise a little discipline in your life to show that next generation there is a better way. There is a better way if you're willing to embrace it. All right, guys, I enjoyed the hell out of this show. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Remember, check us out, thebarbarianlounge.com. Become a member, patreon.com/thebarbarianlounge. So now, my fellow barbarians, this broadcast of the Barbarian Lounge is closed.